Da, da, da. 1 gigabit broadband, brilliant.
Okay, so I'll just get Facebook sorted out.
Aye, I know. Yes, I saw that in one of your posts I was looking back at. And also you mentioned in one of your broadcasts that you'd been literally booted off. Yeah.
Aye.
But you were saying it was more than Facebook.
Aye, I was looked through Twitter, I was looked through Restream. I had to get myself back into them all, but Facebook took the longest to get back in.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Ali.
Good night.
Hi, Jim. And Rev of Wrestling, Jim Campbell. What a name, I think it's wonderful, that is. It really is.
Right.
Jim, you're going to have to sell me that name.
Afternoon, Dale. That's people starting to show up on Facebook as well.
Robert and Christine, how you doing? Last Braveheart, Ian Martin, Lynn Hughes, hi, how you doing? Oh, the gang is all here. DJ Martin, Rebecca McDougall, there you go. Ali Watson.
Right.
I did have a good holiday.
Nancy, Christine, Arthur, Willie, Lynn, Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth, how's Germany today? So numbers are starting to climb nicely, David. So how was the holiday? Let's start there.
It was very good, but the obviously the one upset, and it was getting any form of link to the outside world. Turned out it was a wee blessing in disguise, because it meant I put all my time and effort into me and into my wife, and it turned out a really lovely holiday. And I'll just tell you something about that. It's very, very simple. The last march that I did for independence, I only got halfway around. I made it as far as Sucky Hall Street, the beginning of Sucky Hall Street, and I had to just stop because I get such pain in my legs. And I have an illness called peripheral neuropathy. I thought it was something to do with that. In actual fact, no. It was down to the arteries in my legs being blocked. And literally, I walk a distance and I've got to stop. So what I did was, the holiday cost us around about 700 notes for the two of us for the week, for all inclusive, at Paradise Park. But what Paradise Park have got is they've got this really good health spa, and they've got people that are actually fully licensed chiropractors who do massage. And I spent the same again on massages during the week. And the first massage I got, very, very deep, very, really right in, and concentrated on my legs and my feet. And when I got up from the bed from doing that, after about 10 minutes of going, I went to meet my wife who was up in the bar waiting for me. And I said, come on, finish that. I need to walk. Because in my head was a sign the same as Hollywood, the big sign up on the hill, saying the word walk. And I literally, I rather than walking like an old man, all of a sudden I was back to walking like a bloody 17-year-old. And Leslie saying, hang on, slow down a bit. So last week, I got some of my dignity back. But one swallow does not make a summer. So what I'm doing is tomorrow.
The fact of the matter is, what you doing swanning off in the middle of a national fucking emergency, boy?
But tomorrow, what I'm going to do is phone the docs, get myself sent to a consultant to do something about it. And my dad's day, they said, hardening the arteries, no, not going to do it for you, go away and die, right? Nowadays, it's different. They can actually treat blocked arteries and things like that with stents, or even get vacuum cleaners, I believe, that can put down an artery and soak up whatever's blocking it, right? So that's what I'm going to do. So it's onward and bloody upward. We've got the finest NHS in the UK, and I'm going to make full bloody use of it, right?
Anyway, while you were away, there was quite a few things going on. Start of the week was Marston, a border centre, immigration processing centre, get petrol bombed by a loon ball. With connections to right-wing groups, obviously now that's come to light. At the time, they just said the guy with mental health problems because you can't have a white terrorist. So now it's being linked to the language being used down that road, it's pretty much playing to these right wing groups. It really is.
Yeah. What the strange thing was that it took so long for the anti-terrorist unit of the police to actually come forward and say this was a terrorist event. It was very, very much the story that was getting put out on mainstream media was that it was a wee man that had gone a bit screwy, a bit daft in the head, and oh dear, he's gone a bit insane, he's done something stupid. But now it's actually getting it's in the National this morning, and I should be able to get straight to it. I should have put tags on these because this is where I've been getting my database for today. and Davies, there it is there. Yep, terrorist incident, and it's the CPTSE, whatever that means. It's counter-terrorism, police department, whatever, right? Okay. They have now named it as being a terrorist incident. And Shadow Home Secretary Vec Cooper tweeted, very serious that far-right extremists drove this attack. I remain concerned that it took so long for counter-terrorist police to take the lead on this case. Something I urged the Home Secretary to pursue on Monday. Right. Who's the Home Secretary again? Oh, it's that Braverman. That's who it is, right? And that's why it wasn't termed as a terrorist attack, because, well, a white man can't commit a terrorist act.
No, the other thing it was her language. I'm going to stop this invasion. Now, invasion would actually, as if these people are coming here today as harem instead of fleeing persecution. You know what I mean? In their own land, poverty.
But what a politician saying such a thing does. It opens the door. And these right-wing groups go, oh, well, we're all right now. We can do what we bloody like. And that's when things like this happen. It's crazy.
Dog whistle with racists.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But that's what it's become doing that voice. It is just nuts.
Yeah.
And then, the next thing that caught my attention during the week was Scottish Questions. Alistair Jack and Miss Sturgeon's plan for Scotland's future finances being pish, and quoting Robert McAlpine. But as I said in my show at the time, the First Minister's going to sell it to the whole of Scotland. And the idea of having a transition period where you still use sterling, there's nothing unusual about that. Ireland did it, Malta did it, they all did it. People don't understand.
Apart from that, for any Tory politician to open his yap and say that somebody's economic plan was pish is absolutely unbelievable. They should not have the brass neck to question anybody's economic plan after what we've seen over the past few months. Yeah. So I personally think I did see the write-up on that. And I would say it's an act of panic on the part of Alistair Jack to use that kind of unparliamentary language. It shouldn't be used.
Definitely a panic, because it's been made quite clear, and we're not asking you, we're telling you.
That's right.
This is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And at an end of a transition period, we're going to launch our own currency, and if you've not got your act together by then, tough. It was, I think it was Stuart Hosey that said, when he was being interviewed and asked about it after Scottish Questions, he said, it was a bloody generous offer to the English for us to keep using their pound and prop them up. Because when we remove our assets, they're going to fall in their arse, and he basically told them that, And there was a BBC reporter, I don't think he had any idea where to look.
The Wiggly.
When he was telling us an act of generosity on behalf of the Scottish Government to offer to keep using your currency. Because if we draw out your currency right away, it's going to fall on its arse, and you're already on your arse anyway.
It's a wee analogy that I've said a few times, and I'm going to say it again. You get in the airplane, you pull out the thing where it shows you the jet and where the exits are and all the rest of it. But one of the first things it shows you is the face mask falling out of if the air pressure should drop below what it should be in the cabin of the plane. And it says to you, Very, very straightforward. Please put on your own mask first and get yourself sorted out first before you help anybody else. And I believe that's a great analogy with Scotland. Scotland becomes independent. We take the control of our own natural resources, assets, and that we sort ourselves out first before then going to people in England and saying, look, okay, guys, what do you need? How can we help you? And I believe we will. Don't worry about that, right?
As I say, the SNP have made it clear to the idiots in Westminster it was a generous offer to continue to use your pound for a while so you can get yourself sorted out.
Yeah.
Right, and then, of course, Wednesday in Prime Minister's questions, what a punch bag that was, David. Off. It's like watching Bojo. It's like watching a brown Bojo, brown skinny Bojo. That's exactly what we've got in that House of Thieves and carpetbaggers down that road. Yeah. It's just another Bojo.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the time I didn't really think much of it, and I don't think Mr. Henry really understood the answer he got when he asked Sunak if Scotland was a colony for exploitation. And Sunak basically told him, aye, but I don't think Mr. Henry understood the answer he was getting. Because what Sunak said was Scotland's got two governments. And they'll go on with husbanding our resources. Basically saying, yep, you're a colony and your parliament's inferior to us.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the answer that Sunak gave Neil Henry. And it was all tied up in that bit that said Scotland's got two governments.
Mm-hmm.
And the government in Westminster will husband our resources.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, okay. So, I carry my Scottish National Party badge in my wallet, my little card. And to be honest with you, I support the SNP, and most of it because of the stuff they've actually done for the people of Scotland, right? And right now they are a devolved parliament, but they're a devolved parliament they need to start misbehaving. They need to start misbehaving. And
taking their control themselves. When Westminster says no, just go fucking do it and then send them the bill.
That's right. Yeah.
Simple as that.
I've actually, believe it or not, I've actually seen it in management. I've actually another company that we used to deal with, and one of the directors went off plot, if you like, right? He started doing things by himself, right? At the end of it, he actually took the company. Took over the company.
Aye.
And all the other directors that had been shouting, I'm saying, what you doing, and all the rest of it, right? They ended up getting the bullet, right? And to be honest with you, there comes a time when you've just got to take the initiative and do it.
Aye.
Be scared, bloody do it anyway.
The lunatics are running the asylum down that road, you know. It's the think tanks, Tufton Street are running the government now, you know. That's all these years of them supposed to be economic think tanks, and when they get a prime minister who's going to go with their policies, they crash the bloody economy. You know what I mean?
Who is it? Who are these think tanks, David? Who backs them and all the rest of it?
Well, that's the thing. That we spoke about this before. We don't know who backs them. You know, we don't know where the money's coming from. Obviously, right-wing nut jobs in America or something like that with too much money to play with.
Yeah, but in actual fact, it's a serious subject. What we've got is we've got people that are in so-called think tanks and the BBC. You can almost see them tugging the floor. Here's such and such from such and such think tank. He's going to tell you all how it is, right? Okay, tugging the floor.
We spoke about this before, David. You know, as I said, the BBC's famous for it. You know, the end of a respected independent think tank. No independent or no respected.
There's a couple of
think tanks, the lobby groups.
There's a couple of things that I could point to BBC on, right? Okay. First is Farage. Do you remember when Farage, who didn't have a seat anywhere in the UK, he was an EU minister or an EU member of Parliament, okay, right? And it seemed as if he was never off the BBC. he was like a permanent bloody fixture, right? And then the other one is the gentleman from the House of Lords who set up No Borders just before.
Lord Orford.
Yeah,
Lord Orford.
he was never off the BBC, right?
Oh,
and
he
it said,
No Borders thing, didn't he? The grassroots, the false grassroots movement that the BBC would put out every break between programmes. Actually,
yeah,
it was pure propaganda. It was a disgrace.
Yes,
And
it
of
was.
course, that's what got him into the House of Lords, because you've got to be a crook, a criminal, or a carpetbagger to get in there, you know.
Yeah.
But the people doing that would just keep voting for them after chumps. You know. Oh, Lord, tugging nut jobs. Their education system failed. Right, and then, as I say, soon I telling Henry, it's a colony. So, absolutely mental. But as we get nearer and nearer an outcome for the Supreme Court, we're starting to hear much more noise out that lot doing that road. Starmer the day, he would forbid a Scottish independence referendum, as if he's getting any fucking say in it.
However, the SNP are going to take Starmer and his motley crew to task over Brexit. And that's what they are going to target on, is the fact that Labour are not offering anything any different to the Tory party. So get Labour in power, you're going to end up with the same net sum result, okay? Which is we're going to make Brexit work, and it cannot work. And it is
the monks, David. And I mean, especially down the road.
Yeah.
They seem to think they're a big player in the world for a start, but they're not. They're a middle. The other thing is, they've lost all grip on reality. The truth is, this 12 years of austerity and what's coming up for the next 2 years, the UK is a busted flush. They have wrecked the economy. There is no money left. Starmer wins the next election, even with a landslide. It won't make any difference. He walks into Treasury and the note will be there saying there's no money. The note will be there saying the credit card's at the end, by the way. And the Bank of England's already tell them your credit card's run out.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
I mean, this is...
Anybody the word that comes out of any of the politicians doing that road are after heat. You couldn't have put a paper between the two cheeks of the Westminster's arse at this point in time.
Well, I did say that in the one of the programmes prior to me going on holiday, was that within the Tory party ranking, I'm talking about the MPs, the backbenchers, the real known backbenchers, they are now starting to agree with each other that the Tories need to sit it out for the next parliamentary period or two. Because there's no way that the Tory party can win this fight. They cannot fix the economy. All they can do is make it worse. And
Starmer won't be able to fix it either, because he's refusing to go back into the EU.
That's right.
Will he edge towards the single market? Probably Scottish independence will shove them that way, because they want an easier trade deal with us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I don't know, with that nonsense on Newsnight the other night, and I watched it, the 9 or whatever it is, the news debate night. I watched it on YouTube, and for a change, it was 1 Labour, 1 Tory, and 3 pro-independence. Right, and this was another one that came up, barriers to trade. Right. Any barriers to trade that's created between Scotland and England, or what England's doing.
Yeah, well, but I mean, people also seem to think it's the government that will have something to do with the barriers of trade. No, businesses buy from business.
That's right.
And the people I deal with to buy from my business, it's like they couldn't give a damn whether I was in Timbuktu or Glasgow, right? So long as I'm faster, smarter, and cheaper, right, and I can do what they want me to do, they're happy to trade.
Yeah.
And if a law came in preventing them from buying from me, I can assure you, being in business for a good few decades now, I can find a way around about it. Right? I'll even come in as an asylum seeker and take out a business somewhere to do it.
Hold on, I think this is a comment I look at. Did you see Sunday Roast today, guys, and interesting things about Westminster system, guys? No, I didn't see it. I'll have a go.
That's another thing.
This is the one I was looking for. Tories need to step back as before. They will give Labour a period of time to rebuild the economy, then come in and destroy it again. The economy can't be rebuilt.
Yeah.
It can't be rebuilt.
It's beyond economic repair.
We haven't got any major trading partners for a start. Nobody's getting, and of course, the mere fact that nobody's got any free disposable income will see the economy crash by itself. When you have a market economy the way that we do, you need people to be able to spend into the market. And he misses McClumpher's no money. You know, Johnny's not getting his 50 quid trainers or 150 quid trainers anywhere. He's getting a pair of baloney pontoons at 10 bob. You know, that's where we're at. And when people don't have any disposable income, then your economy contracts. Simple as that. The Bank of England has just whacked us off for 880 billion quid's worth of free money for the banks with an interest rate rise. And that's 880 billion quid that the Bank of England has just taken out of the economy.
Yeah. Talking
about illiteracy.
Yeah, talking about the Bank of England, right? Taking that it's not economic illiteracy, and that the Bank of England are well aware of what they're doing and what the end result of what they're doing. Can you possibly cast any light on that, David, as to why they would do such a thing? So, in other words, these people in the Bank of England, the chairman of the Bank of England and the board that sits, are well aware of what is going on, what the end result of what they're doing, and why what they're doing won't work, but they still keep doing it. Why would that be the case? Why would they continue to carry out interest rate hikes when they know it's not going to work?
I have absolutely no idea. They're trying to get inflation under control, obviously.
But they know they won't get inflation under control whilst we've still got Brexit in place.
That's right. Brexit being the major factor, actually. You can track absolutely everything that's gone wrong. You can put it at the door of Brexit.
Yeah.
They say every month, as you know, David, we get all these bloody report after report for the different sectors in the economy. Everybody's stating that Brexit's been a disaster. The only people who don't seem to want to believe that Brexit's a disaster is the Brexiteers and the European Reform Group and the Conservative Party, who seem to have a stranglehold on the Conservative Party.
And the mainstream media. And the mainstream media,
of course. But Michael Gove telling us it was a success the other day. And when he was asked, well, what was successful about it? He said the vaccine rollout. We were still in the European Medical Association when the vaccine was rolled out.
Hang on a second, Dad, my zip up. Right, there you go, right.
It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. But it's Starmer on the telly today telling us this morning telling us all that the shut up jock, get back in the box. He won't permit a referendum. This is nobody's business. He can go by all his heat. Yeah. As we get nearer the Supreme Court judgment one way or another, because it's a win-win for Scotland no matter what way it goes. As we get nearer the Supreme Court judgment, they're starting to get into a real panic. They really are.
Right. So as we step into tomorrow, it becomes the 7th, we're 10 days away from the budget, basically the report on the budget, right? Where do you think that one's going to go?
No, it's not going to go well. I mean, we're going to get tax hikes. Some of them will be stealth taxes, of course. Like they're talking about a stealth raid on private pensions here.
Yeah.
I think the big one's going to be they're not going to. I don't think the triple lock will apply, and I don't think they'll give benefit claimants the RPI either. So basically, they're not going to give benefits a 10% raise. I think they'll raise it to 6%, and the claimants in line with the average wage increase. Yeah. You know, but so I think they'll get more a manifesto busting policies coming out shortly. I expect to see probably alcohol duty rise, tobacco duty rise, fuel duty will probably rise. So he's looking for 50 million quid to plug it back home in the economy.
Well, a simple way to get 50 million quid,
50 billion.
50 billion quid, is quite simply is to create an insurance-based system for the NHS in England.
Well, that's good.
And that means then they don't have to put anything into the NHS.
Well, what was interesting about last week was we learned from Steve Baker that pensions are being looked at now. I said this a long time ago. A lot of you guys out there have heard me say this, but auto-enrolment and the workplace pension schemes that we all have to join now. I said when they were introduced that the state pension was over.
Yeah.
And it could well be that people getting their national insurance number this year could be the very last people to be enrolled into the state pension system.
They won't stop it for everybody. People that are on it will stay on it until they die. But then there'll be a year where it's cut off, and eventually those people don't get any state pension. They just have what they've actually put in place for themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Am I against such a thing? Well, I've got to look at the German system, where they do is almost a private pension that they have, right? But it's done in concert with the government, right? And the people of Germany do end up with a very, very good pension at the end of the day, right? So the state pension is just, for a long, long time, it's let us down. For people to be living on like 7 or 8 grand per year, in this day and age, with the costs that we've got to face individually, it's ridiculous. It's inhuman, you know.
Steve said the thought of money going virtual scares him. Well, the G7's plans for digital currency should scare everybody. And the best way to derail it, start using money.
Yeah.
And according to the latest surveys by the post office, more and more of us are using money again as a means of budgeting.
Yeah.
So you won't take the cash out of the machine, and that's all you're going to be using as a cash in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But the plan for the G7's plan for a digital currency is pretty well scary. It means that the central bank controls everything, including what you can spend it on, and that is just out of hand.
Yeah. Also, you know, you've got to figure that, let's say you break a law, right? You're a bad boy or bad girl, and you actually break a law, and part of the judgment that's brought down upon you is that you cannot use your money for a period of time. Never mind prison, you just don't have any money apart from the absolute basic minimum for you as a human being to survive. It's scary what they could do. It really is. Thereby cutting down on the need for prisons in a lot of cases, just stop you economically as a human being.
Chris, you're right. Central bank digital currencies are a real bad idea for people's freedoms. Absolutely correct. Yeah. As I say, there's only one way to derail this bugger, and these buggers in the G7 finance ministers, and that is for us to start using money again.
Yeah.
And as I say, the post office surveys are showing that people are starting to use cash again. They're going to their cash point machine, or they're going to the post office, they're lifting X amount to get them for the week, and having the cash in their pockets, how they're budgeting. So, but will they introduce it? Well, what do they do with this? What do they do with the commercial banks? You know, what do they do with Barclays? What do they do with Royal Bank of Scotland? What do they do with Santander, whatever? What do they do with these places when the central banks take out currency? Well, they issue digital currency, but do they, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's
So do you foresee there being like a public human being currency, which is fully digital through the central bank, and there being another kind of currency being employed by the banks to play casinos, play roulette?
I couldn't tell you, but Chris once again, they can issue central bank digital currencies for benefits and dictate which shops and stores you can spend it in, even which items you can spend it on. That's all very true. As I say, if you haven't seen the video with Sunak announcing this when he was a chancellor, then just Google it. Just go into your search engine and put in central bank digital currencies, and up will come the G7 finance ministers' plans to take control of your money. And as we know, the World Economic Forum is putting out videos at the moment that people should pay more attention to, actually, where they're talking about how in the future you won't own anything. You'll just rent it for the amount of time you need it, and it will go back. And this is all through their plans for digital currency and things like that. Yeah. So, I mean, it's all out there for people to look at.
Right. So now you've mentioned Sunak, you've mentioned the World Economic Forum. Let's talk about something else. COP27. COP27. Right. With a situation during the week, I understand, where Sunak was going, then he wasn't going, then he was going, and then Uncle Chuck, Big Ears, he said he was going, and they were going, no, you're not going. And then eventually out the stalls came Nicola Sturgeon. He says, I don't care what the rest of you are doing, I'm going, right? And to be honest with you, she's now world leaders must follow the First Minister's lead at COP27. There it is there. Sorry, it's back to front. I'll get a mirror. But you know, what we got happening here is it a load of wee toddlers all going pushing for oh, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that and all the rest of it, right? Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Whether I like that or not, that's what his position is. And the COP27 is dealing with an existential crisis, which is going to destroy all the people in the world. End of. Right? So is it not his responsibility to get there and make sure that he's dealing with it?
I don't think anybody really gives a damn whether Little England shows up or not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, first thing that was announced right after Sunak said he wasn't gone was Nicola Sturgeon saying he was gone. And I think that's I think they were trying to order the whole government to know to go. Nicola Sturgeon gone, simple as that. You talk about just telling them to piss off, you know. So, but I think the reason Sunak did a U-turn on it is because Scotland would be taking all the plaudits. And he'll want to go there and claim it's Britain who is a world leader on climate change, when actually England isn't. We've spoken about this there. I mean, if you get right down to it, their water systems is full of effluents. They are deregulating when it comes to food and standards and things like that. Little England's going to hell in a handbag, you know. And they're being allowed to do it. The Westminster parliamentarians, the Tory party, voted down legislation which would force water companies to clean up the system. And some of the photographs that you're seeing for coastal towns in England right now are absolutely horrendous. You know, the human effluents all over the beaches. It's, you know, it's excrement. That's a good word. Aye. So Sunak's just going to go there to try and claim that you know, the UK is a world leader in green technologies. It's not. Scotland's a world leader in green technologies. Yeah. And when it comes to renewables, England hasn't done nothing. Scotland and Wales have done it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure of the situation in Northern Ireland right now, but they've not got an administration up and running at the moment.
And is it true that we have Boris the Clown who's actually bought a ticket to go across to the COP27?
Yes, I believe so.
To what end?
I have absolutely no idea.
He's an MP, I suppose, but you know, he's not. He can't be considered as one of the world leaders anymore. So to what end has he done that?
As I say, you know, Sunak's only gone because he doesn't want Nicola Sturgeon taking the plaudits. Because that's what happened at COP26.
Ellen Hume says, apparently he was invited by the Egyptians, so some very rich person will fund it. Oh, yeah, okay. He's got his wallpaper funded. Who the hell bought that wallpaper? Did you ever see pictures of it?
Aye.
The wallpaper and Bojo's. I mean, my goodness me. It's like, it's dreadful. It really is, honestly. I mean, when I was doing the Sunderland Football Stadium, they were doing the boardroom, right? And the wallpaper cost, for the boardroom, 12 grand. And Bob Murray was the chairman at that time. But Mrs. Murray came in and saw it and went, get that off the wall. I'll show you what to put up. 12 grand worth of wallpaper. You couldn't make it up, honestly.
Maybe Johnson should be, let's pick up the comments here. Maybe Johnson should be doing his job as an MP instead of swanning away to COP26. Since he's been booked at number 10, he's been on holiday. I don't suppose his constituents have seen him.
True.
But as I say, last week was quite interesting because pensions were up for grabs. That's them starting to float the idea that we can't afford the state pension. So all you pensioners out there who were told by a Better Together that you wouldn't get a pension in independent Scotland, you get a better chance of getting a pension in independent Scotland than what you have staying in the UK.
Sure.
Oh, but I went there to apologise, folks.
What tea, Vicar? No thanks, it makes me fart. Anyway, right, so go on, guys. I've maybe missed a few of these comments here. I can't roll up. There we go. It is how I describe Boris's wallpaper and the couch and curtains matched. True, Steve. Right, so we've covered COP27. We've covered Suella Braverman, the petrol bomb attack, Rishi Sunak and what he's up to this week. How long do you think Sunak will last? I mean,
he'll be there until there's a general election. But what's interesting about it is it doesn't look as if Sunak's pulling the strings. Jeremy Hunt's pulling the strings,
Possibly. But Jeremy Hunt never carried that much kudos anyway. He was always a runner-up. He was never a guy that was going to take charge. He was just always a runner-up. Yeah.
Aye.
So if Sunak's getting his strings pulled with Jeremy Hunt, oh my goodness me, wow.
Fiona, the naughty set.
How come that? Wait a minute. I'm starting to see a bit of inequality going on here. Everything on Davies' side is the right way around, and you can read it. And yet, here am I wearing my proudly worn Maple Ridge Fire and Rescue T-shirt. This is not a cheapie from blooming Battleland. This is the real McCoy. This is what they actually wear when going to save.
You're going to have to get into your settings and change it to mirror image.
You mean I'm supposed to know something about IT as well? Eh?
Aye, right. Well, there's that, isn't there?
So, all right, class action has said Hunt isn't in charge either. So, therefore, who is actually in charge? Come on, guys. Let's have a rake around here and see if somebody can come up with who's actually running the show. Who's really running the show?
The European Reform Group. That's my guess.
No,
I did see the debate night.
You think about it with this, right? Okay, with Boris Johnson that we knew was a Russian asset, without doubt. With all the stories that went on there, I would be very, 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 very suspicious of anything other than he was a Russian asset. And then you have Rishi Sunak. He had, at the time, a green card, and he spent a lot of his time talking to the health insurance companies in America, right? So was he an American asset, right? So who's actually in charge of all this? Who's pulling the strings? If these people, if we people is not pulling the strings, who is?
Yeah, this one will make you laugh. Apparently, Dross is running the show. Okay.
Oh dear goodness me! Well, it must be sad to be in a position like that, right? There he is. He's strapped these colours to the mast. He's a Tory through and through. And he finds himself as the leader of the Tories in Scotland. and he must be going, "Oh, for goodness sake, oh, this is dreadful." Every day that something new comes out, it's something else that he's going to have to either agree with that he doesn't want to, or somebody that he needs to get rid of that he really can't get rid of them, right? Well, bloody hell.
Hey, Margaret says it's 55 Tufton Street and the think tanks that are running the show.
Yes, aye. You know something? But you've got to say to yourself, who is running the think tanks? Who is telling these people to actually push the narrative that way, right?
But we spoke about this. We did a program, a bit of a program on it, sure. We don't know who's funding them is the actual truth. But they're no think tanks, they're lobby groups. Mainly funded by oil, gas, tobacco, that sort of thing.
Then you've got departments in the UK like the MI5 or MI6, right? Now, I can't call them the dirty trick squad because at the end of the day, but I honestly believe that there's a few people in there that honestly believe they're working for the benefit of the people, right? Why aren't they turning up the blooming rocks to see who's actually funding these buggers, right?
Oh, they'll know. MI5 will know who's funding them.
Yeah. But why aren't they actually doing something about it? Why isn't...
That is the question. Why do these people have any influence at all in our lives?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Aye, I know George Moneybot did do a good video about the oligarchs running the show on Double Down News.
Yeah.
And how they're funneling dark money into these think tanks. He also gives the journalists a good spanking for no reporting on it properly.
Yeah, I remember the 60s. It was the famous Russian spy at the time. It was a great big. It was big news. I mean, I was a kid at the time, but what was it, George? What was the name of the famous Russian spy? And it was a huge newspaper story and all the rest of it, right? And they went to prison, whatever, right? But why isn't that happening nowadays? If the MI5 have got the needle on what is actually happening, right? Why aren't people getting locked up?
No, it depends whether MI5 see them as a threat to Homeland Security. Because remember, MI5 jokes Homeland Security. MI6 does the overseas stuff,
If the British Prime Minister is an asset of Russia, right? The guy should have been hauled in, and there should have been a huge blooming show trial as to why, as a British Prime Minister, you should not become an asset to the Russians.
No, of course it shouldn't have been an asset. The Tory party was bloody well owned by the Russians. People get Lord Lebedev of Siberia.
Siberia, that's right, yeah.
In the House of Lords. How did that happen? KGB owner, KGB member's son.
Yeah.
Ex-Russian spy son in the House of Lords. How did that happen?
And who owns a dog called Boris?
Aye.
That should open a few eyes as well.
Bojo going to bunga bunga parties, whatever they're called here in Italy with them, I mean, they're leaving the security detail behind, absolutely nuts. But it's all a matter of whether the Homeland Security see these organisations or think tanks as a threat.
I can't imagine Boris Johnson outrunning a snail, never mind a security detail. How did that happen? How did Boris manage to...
Just tell the security detail they weren't going with him, end of story.
Well, that's the thing. He would have had to have ordered them to back off.
Aye.
And the first thing that should happen is that a report should be sent immediately saying, this guy, our Prime Minister, has asked us to back off so he can go undercover. What's going on here?
Aye. I used to say Priti Patel was an agent of the Israelis,
yeah.
So
well, after what happened, I think she wasn't she chastised for something she did for the Israeli government. Can't quite remember what it was.
Whether we took any prior permission to talk to them.
Yeah.
So There's a lot of this Tory government's done which is unaccountable.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. That's a nice bit of clarity. MI5 can only report to the government that is then dropped if the government want. Yeah, okay. Still in all, surely the MI5 are there to protect the people of Britain, right? They're not there to protect the individuals within the UK government. So doesn't that pour cold water on that a wee bit?
No, really. When you think about it, MI5, MI6, they're all part of the civil service. You know, you're right, don't you? Or part of the big club.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Right. I give in to what you're saying. However, growing up in Scotland, I was always given that the MI5, the security services, were there on behalf of the people, not on behalf particularly of the government. Stand to be corrected.
Yeah, boy, my face. Scottish guy that shot himself twice in the back of the head and threw a gun 20 feet away. It was definitely MI5 that put him down, Chris. Ice Ninja, sorry. But will they be found out through time? No, not really. Most of these things end up locked away for 100 years. When it comes time to open the doors on them, they just lock them away for another 100 years.
Yeah. But we didn't hear any bad things about King Henry VIII. Surely some things would have come out about him.
Okay. There we go. Beaverman won't accept MI5's concerns. She still thinks they are a furniture retailer. It's interesting that because MI5 won't work with her. They think she's a security risk. When you get Homeland Security, no one to share information with the Home Secretary. You get ranked by the Home Secretary.
Yeah, and she is the Home Office Minister.
Fair put this one up. After independence, what will MI5 be in Scotland? Same as they are the new, a spy group spying on the people.
Yeah, that's right. Except they'll probably have to move house because we know where the house is in Glasgow.
And we know where the house is in Edinburgh, so we want to centralise them in one office. So we can keep an eye on the buggers. Okay. The boy, Dr. David Kelly, he was supposed to have committed suicide by slitting his wrists. So we all know that doesn't work.
Yeah, that was very odd. In fact, the whole inquiry that was
this is where Tony Blair's blood in his hands come in.
Yeah.
That's what makes him a war criminal.
It was the amount of time it was taken for that inquiry to come out, and eventually I remember watching the day that it came out, and I remember the SNP group were standing up and saying, "You guys should be totally embarrassed by this," because the stuff that happened and the stuff that's been left out of this inquiry is unbelievable. It really is,
Aye. As I say, but that's the inquiry into the misleading document that took us into the first Iraq conflict. That should have seen Blair in jail.
Yeah.
That should have seen him in jail.
Well, didn't they have international arrest warrants served on him? Not served on him, but issued on him. And if he landed in a particular country, he was just to be picked up straight away and taken into custody.
Well, obviously they'll avoid that country, won't they?
Yeah, that's right.
But one thing's for sure: the minute we're independent, we should issue an arrest warrant for the kit.
Yeah.
On war crimes.
Yeah. Well, we live in a union where things like that happening have become almost run of the mill. Are we going to allow this to continue? I mean, what if the most unbelievable thing happened and we did get independence and we allowed things like this to continue into the future and have our children, our grandchildren having to fight with the dirty tricks squad all the way through their lives? affecting their lives in really, really profound ways. This is where, when we take our independence, we need to create a new kind of establishment, the Scottish establishment, which believes in honour, fairness, and equality for all.
We just write the rules to make sure that anybody who's into public service can't get out of hand with it, David.
Yeah, but there has to be also written consequences for such a person.
Yes.
Or group, you know.
I mean, if you take just a simple example, especially for anybody for England who's watching, I mean, you can lie with impunity in Westminster. It's called parliamentary privilege. You lie in the Scottish government chamber, the Parliament chamber, and you don't correct the record, and it's and you're found to have lied, you can face prosecution for it.
Yeah.
With a maximum of 2 years in jail.
Yeah.
You know.
Why do you think they have this thing called parliamentary privilege then, David, in the House of Commons? To what end does that serve?
It puts them above the law.
Yeah, that's right.
But their excuse for putting themselves above the law is that they are the legislators who write the law.
Yeah, that's right.
So
and now, as we've seen, being legislators that write the law, they're also legislators that can change the laws retrospectively to suit themselves, to suit their own agenda.
Right. The Henry VIII powers they gave themselves under Theresa May. I mean, we are really quite quickly seeing a descent into fascism here.
Yeah.
I mean, Braverman's language last week was just another step along that road. You know.
Yeah. Well, this analogous thing that we have with the Nazi Party and seeing the rise of the Nazi Party and the way they made the unions illegal and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
Really is scary to watch what we are seeing being brought through. The fact of in England and Wales, just days ago, they actually enacted and actually made full power the law that made it illegal to protest in England and Wales.
Yep.
I mean, the right to protest is something that has been written in tablets of stones all my life. People can go and do peaceful protest, right? Protest, unfortunately, noisy, right?
Some people get a crack sense of humour if they know Phil McCracken. Anyway, Phil McCracken said independence and security risk to England. It could bankrupt them and leave them high and dry for many resources. That's very true. Yeah. That's why we had MI5 and that play about with the last referendum. It's something we're going to keep our eye open for.
Yeah. And those ballot boxes went over the hills and far away, and they were ideal just to actually say, right, okay, you pull in here. Here's two new vans full of ballot boxes. Off they went to get counted. Full of votes.
Class action, I think they can. I think they can be recalled by their constituents if they've done something wrong.
It's no easy. It's not easy. It's this blooming recall thing that they have, but it's got to. It's something like 75% of the people have got to call for it. Is that right, David?
No, I think it's you've got to get 20% of constituents to hold it. I think it's 20%. Somebody will correct us in the comments. That's a recall for your constituents if you can get 20% of them to sign a recall petition.
Stick a lot of them in the jungle.
Aye, Matt Hancock's feeling lonely. Not enough liars running about him. But that was a star last Friday, by the way. That was a laugh.
Yeah.
The star last Friday. He wants everybody to phone in to this programme that Hancock's on to make sure he does all the trials. What they're called, bush tucker trials or whatever they're called, where they get to eat kangaroos, boys, and things like that. Class action saying it's no easy. The MP has to be suspended from Parliament first before there can be a recall petition.
Yeah.
Aye, that's probably right. Class action. So it is. So it's been another wacky week doing that road in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, there was a debate on Scottish independence and all, which was the usual run of the mill shite, you know. You've had just say shut up, job, get back in your boxcar. You know, only the Scottish MPs there, everybody else is not there because they're not interested. As I say, one of the SNP MPs was giving a speech when Alistair Jack trotted into the chamber. And I think it was Hosey, I think it was Stuart Hosey, he says, the Governor General's about to take his seat. So it is becoming really, really comical doing that. It would be funny if it was the killing people, of course.
Right, absolutely.
Bring it back to the reality of it, you know. They're actually, and November 17th, kids, that's one for a diary.
Right.
That's when we'll find out what the economic policies are going forward, and how much tax hikes are going to be, and how much the poor are going to get smacked. And the Governor of the Bank of England, after the Monetary Policy Committee lifted the interest rates by 0.75% on the 3rd of November, he turned around and says expect this recession to be 3 to 5 years long. When you're talking about something like that, it's not a recession, it's a depression, and I can see it going on for 10.
I thought they'd already stated that it was a depression rather than a recession.
Oh, it's definitely going to be a depression, but they're calling it a recession at the moment. According to the Governor of the Bank of England, he's being optimistic. What he was saying on Thursday was that we're in recession now, and he expects it to last until 2024. He's kidding himself.
Yeah, there is the man that has just raised interest rates, knowing that raising interest rates won't solve the problem.
No, great.
But you have to remember that above a certain level of income, or a certain let's call the whole population strata, right? Above a certain strata, raising of interest rates actually benefits you because, well, you're the kind of person that has savings, all the rest of it, right? So you go up the way. It's the people below that go down, you know. So can I say that the Governor of the Bank of England has an axe to grind? Yes, I would. If he is supporting the people that are on the upper levels of the upper strata.
What we're seeing is as much money as they can be pumped out of the. I mean, if you take Truss's mini budget, right? That's seen 7.9 billion of investment flee London.
Yeah.
And as I've said, London, 20 years' time, London won't be a world financial centre because of Brexit.
Yeah. Judy Kay's put up an interesting point that I'd like to see. Can you see it, Devin? Put it across.
On at bottom here.
Yeah, raising interest rate mostly props up the pound. Incorrect. The thing that props up the pound purely and simply is the assets that they have behind the pound, right? And that the assets that are behind the pound are things like the oil that's still under the seabed, the gas that's still under the seabed, the offshore territories that the UK has, all the rest of it. These are assets that props up the pound. However, we've basically shot our biggest trading partner in the back and closed the door on them, right? And that's what's causing the pound to blooming do a nosedive, right?
You can see the trajectory since the vote in 2016. The graphs are out there. It's been a steady slide to where it is at the moment.
So, Johnny, I have to say, I disagree with that, right? It doesn't do anything to curb inflation when it's a supply side problem. Yes, you've got to see that. If the inflation is being caused by internal problems, like, for example, back in the 80s, when we all bought Japanese electronics, my goodness me, we did have an internal problem there. We were buying Japanese goods. The pound was being used to actually fund that and bring the Japanese goods in. And what happened was people took out hire purchase agreements to be able to afford to buy all these Japanese goods and Japanese cars and all the rest of it. Yes, in that case, an interest rate hike was a sensible way to deal with it, right? However, because we've cut off the EU countries, right, it's not working that way. The actual problem is an external problem. the EU, a lot of the companies in the EU just don't want to deal with us because the people they're going to deal with, right?
Aye.
So
Gordon's part of an example of an asset. Basically, whiskey sitting in bonded warehouses that haven't been sold yet.
Yeah.
That's a tax take. It's an asset sitting there waiting to be dragged in. But as we know, the inflationary pressures at the moment are because are worse in the UK and what they are in other parts of the world because of Brexit.
Yes.
Because Brexit's driving things like food price inflation because we're getting less of the free trade deal going, so you're having to pay more and waiting more. It takes longer to get into the UK. It doesn't last as long in the supermarket shelves as things that as we know. The amount of variety on our supermarket shelves has also went down.
Yeah.
So
how many times does it take for the Bank of England to raise interest rates to finally go, sorry guys, we've tried everything we could, it's not working?
Didn't they work the last time?
I know.
18%. 18%. They went up to in the 80s.
And John's quite rightly put up the pound to the dollar's back to 111.
Yes, I know.
111, right? So it's with the rising of the interest rates on that day, it went up to 113, and then there it is. It's back down to 111, right?
Actually, it dropped to 111 the minute Bank of England changed the rates.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And when the governor, Andrew Bailey, gave the speech about how long he expects the recession to be, money started withdrawing through the City of London rapid.
Yeah, £7.6 billion in one day. Is that right?
No, that was the day after a trustee's mini budget. 7.9 billion of investment fled London. And Mr. Reid's got a good point here, and all constant QE has devalued the pound. Of course it has.
Of course it has. That's right.
And somebody put a comment up there saying that it's basically Scotland's assets which are propping up the pound. And basically, yes.
That's right.
When
we eventually go and we take our natural assets with us, natural resources, which we've got the lion's share of in the UK, then that's going to mean there's going to be nothing there to prop the pound up.
I'm going to put this one up before we finish. We have no growth, says Marty, TJ Marty. No one wants to trade with England, and there's a truth to that.
Yeah.
And he's right to say England because people don't trust England anymore. They just
I assure you, if when we put a meter on the electricity going south when we're independent, and a water meter on the big pipe that takes the water south, right? And we produce a bill, I'm going to want payment up front.
I'm going to put this one up and all because we're just earlier a wee bit. But Stephen there is saying his shopping has totally changed, a lot more expensive, and has affected his diet as well. He tries his best to eat healthy, but it's just way too expensive. And that's one of the problems we have in poverty-ridden UK. Even those of us who are just managing to get by and feed ourselves and keep ourselves and like ourselves, it's poor quality nutrition leads to bad health outcomes. In the last 12 years, what we do know about this Tory government, apart from exterminating the poor, the pensioners and the disabled, what we do know is that things like malnutrition's went up.
Yeah,
poor nutritional value of foods is all people can afford, really.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The Black Report and then the Aitchison report that took place almost 20 years later, right?
Yeah.
They discuss everything that you just said there, David, and you're absolutely right. But over and above that, even it doesn't matter if you're doing okay, just the knowledge that things are bad create bad health outcomes. People start to drop their heads as they realise they're fighting a losing game.
Chris is saying he's finding it's getting harder and harder just to feed his kids.
Yeah. God bless you, Chris. Blooming it, man.
David, it's going to be a very, very common story Their greatest assets are the winds, lochs, strong tidal currents, and renewable energy has to be the future. Can't argue with that, Reg. Can't argue with that. There is talk of the steel manufacturing down there getting cut back and a loss of 2,000 jobs. Well, you know, if you the steel industry is going to disappear now because all the car manufacturers doing that road are going to leave.
Yeah.
It'll be a slow process, but they will leave. They'll downsize because they're only servicing the UK market.
Yeah, you can only
before they were manufacturing them here and taking them to Europe. You know?
Yeah. No, as a business, you can only draw the horns in so far until eventually one day you wake up and you go, I'm banging my head against a brick wall here, and you realise it's time just to say good night, thank you. And I'm in a very, very lucky situation in that I don't employ anybody, and that's what would kill me, is closing a business where people and their families rely upon it for putting a crust of bread on the table, right? Some of these, being in business doesn't automatically make you a bad guy. I know lots of good guys in business, and they really do. They really do look after their staff.
They find their taxes the same as anybody else.
They're in a situation where they know if they close the doors, that's them. They've not just held the gun to their own temple. They held the gun to other staff's temple and their families, and it's dreadful. It really, really is awful situation to be in. Anyway,
it's deliberate. You know, there's a cull on.
Ali, you're in the process of opening a new restaurant. I wish you all the very best, my friend. I really, really do. I really hope you haven't sunk your table and chairs into it and everything in your kitchen sink to your house. It's a difficult time to be in business. It really is.
Especially that way it's supported by the British Innkeepers Association and the Bar Owners Association, the Ulster Bar Owners Association, and the food and drink industry are saying that they expect 35% of the members to fall flat in the face this year, especially after April next year when the cap comes off for businesses' energy. And it appears coming off for ours and also April next year we can see ourselves with huge bills coming in. You know.
Sorry, Ali's okay. He's in France. Well, you're not going to get any Scottish goods.
Oh, I know. I was discussing it before with how he was getting a grip of ingredients from Scotland, but they're getting very, very expensive.
Ali, you could run a wee competition once a week, you know, for one Scottish couple to come to wherever it is in France to enjoy a meal. How's about that? Look, guys, we've gone over the hour, right? And I think, you know, I ask for your understanding in terms that I've been without any form of news for an entire week, and everything that I've mentioned today I've pulled together within the few hours before this broadcast. But most importantly is we're now getting to a stage where we've got to look after each other. You know, that I read off Chris where he was finding it difficult to put food on the table for his kids. That nearly made me burst into tears.
Steve's the same. He's been on universal credit for a while, and he's saying he's struggling to get food for himself. You know. I don't
know what to say, you guys. Look, I really don't. You know, but we've really we've got to make sure that not a single man jack here, right? I use that word very carefully, but every one of us looks after each other. If you know that somebody's not doing well, make a pot of soup and give it to them and say, look, we didn't want this, do you want that, right? Never ever make it a point where they would think it's some kind of charity, because people don't take well to charity, right? People have got pride.
Always telling us there's a better system in France. There is government support there. But what we're seeing here is really just David Cameron's big society. You know, and where charities taking over for the welfare state. And Mary Black gave a crack speech on it. And as you know, guys, that's why the ND2 Cafe runs charity events and all, so that they were contributing to food banks.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of these things. But I've got a busy night ahead of me, so I want to get ready. Working tonight.
And I'm going to find somewhere to go for sleep.
Get it round you. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you find it informative. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon. You'll get notified when we go live on the Two Davies channel. And if you're on Facebook, like, share. And if you're on YouTube, share. Okay. And hopefully I'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. In the morning, I'll get a wee run around the news headlines as I go through the season, and start putting a show together for tomorrow. So that's about it for the day. David, all that's left to say is
bye-bye, Davey.
Bye, David.